Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yuzril, the game is Star Trek Online, and welcome once again to the Terran Task Force. I've hit Tier 2, yes I know, I'm slacking, I can think of at least one day that I've missed, but I'm there, Tier 2 is complete, let's collect the reward, and well, let's start with the reputation ability since we're here. First one is the passive phaser resistance, and hold, knock, repel, disable, and slow resist rating. Principally, that's an anti-phaser ability, so it's going to be very handy against the Terran starships. Is it essential? Well, no, by definition, we've got through Tiers 1 and 2 without it, but hey, it'll take the edge off when they start battering away at us, particularly those command cruisers, which are proving notoriously tough. The second one, the second one. Romulans, you are going to love this one. Torpedo pre-fire sequence, 33% torpedo speed, 12.5% damage. So yeah, torpedoes to target quicker, more torpedo damage for everybody. If you're running a quantum chain gun build, that's going to synergize very nicely with the ordnance console. And well, torpedoes in space for less time means less time for them to get shot down. Granted, it tends to be auto-targeting abilities like tractor repulsors and fire at will that are used for point defense these days, but hey, still less time vulnerable and still more, well, not more damage, but quicker damage. It's after all an increase in flight speed, not fire rate. Still, very nice little perk for Romulans, pretty handy for everyone else if you're going a torpedo-heavy build. I can think of at least one build I run for the Crystalline Entity where I am definitely going to be taking that. As for the store, it's been expanded out mostly the rest of the ground weapons, so we now have full auto assaults, pulse wave assaults, blast assaults, wide beams, and various other shinies, all with the Withering Disruptor proc, 2.5% chance, no, I tell a lie, yep, 2.5% chance to apply a stack of withering radiation, 60 seconds, 5 stacks maximum, 79.4 damage per stack of radiation, so multiply it by 5, you've potentially got just shy of 400 damage per stack. That could be interesting, depends how often it's going to be ticking really, because 400 damage a stack when the average character health is 742, actually no, I think that's overpowered. I also don't think it's right. Let's have a quick shufty at withering damage. 78 radiation damage per stack. Eesh. Okay, let's equip this, see if it changes. And then we'll just pull up the power menu, equip that, and let's see. So, double shot first of all, dual bolt second, 2.5% chance of applying withering radiation. Where has that gone? There we are. Dual bolt setting doesn't specify how often it ticks. That's interesting. Unless oh, of course it's not a dot, is it? Let's just pull up the info on the weapon and take a closer look at this, because if that is a dot, that is horrendously overpowered. Info. So okay, so this weapon is charged with withering radiation, which has a chance to deal additional radiation based on the number of withering stacks present on the target. Okay. Oh, I see. So 78 radiation damage. The chance goes up per stack. So 2.5%, 5%, 7.5%, up to 5 stacks, 12.5% chance. Presumably it drops off if you get a withering proc. But it's not exactly being clear on the point, is it? It may well be that it just stays and persists as long as you keep firing at the target, in which case 12.5% chance of a, well, that's basically 1.5 times the damage, 12.5% of 150% is averaging out at about a 17 to 18% DPS increase. I'm doing this maths in my head and on the fly, so I apologize if I get it wrong. You're looking at about 150 DPS off those pistols, give or take. That's not too shabby at all. I might have to consider those. Maybe a few miniguns for the bridge officers, you never know. Just open fire. I mean, if those come off multiple hits and stack on multiple hits, then rapid fire weapons like miniguns and full auto assaults and dual pistols are going to have an absolute field day with that proc. However, I'm rambling, so where were we? Oh yes, so we've looked at the reps, we've looked at the stores. Let's have a look at the shinies. So, what do we have? Personal shields from tier 1, deflector array, tier 2. What do we get? So, more shield hit points, always good. More flow capacitors. Ooh, I might have to think about that. The power drain consoles are a pretty standard part of my build these days, and that would amplify it quite nicely. Resistance to inertial dampeners, meh. Power insulators, meh. And of course, it ties into the Starship Technologies set. So as and when I actually have part of that, we'll take a look at the procs. Over on the Ordnance set, the Photon Torpedo Launcher's available. 3000 kinetic damage. Damage dealt increases up to 200% damage, so it doubles up at 25% hull. So if you're already in trouble when this starts knocking you to pieces, congratulations, you're going to be in even more trouble when it starts shooting you up. Oh wow, that is very nice. Again, we'll have to look at focus detonations and torpedo launchers once I finally get around to picking up the console. Price for this, as expected, 30,000 credits, 15,000 dilithium, 2 inducers, and 500 marks. Pretty much par for the course. For the deflector array, I imagine this is going to be, yep, it's pretty much primary set costs, 40,000 credits, 32,500 dilithium, 5 inducers, and I think it's 750, yes it is, Terran marks. So that is that. Of course, we also have the tier 2 lockbox coming available, so we'll just plug in the daily grind, get that running, 30 marks in, yoink it up. See if we get anything special this time around. Usually, of course, this will be from the stuff that goes into the tier 3 stores. So, shiny, shiny, shiny. Gimme, gimme, gimme. What do we have? Withering Disruptor, Beam Array, AC, and Crit D. Well, it's not top of the line, but it's not too shabby. And there we go again. 2.5% chance stack of Withering Radiation. Now, let's see if it's any clearer on this version. Based on the number of Withering Radiation stacks, additional damage, the way I'm reading that, it's 124 damage to target per stack of Withering Radiation. The more I look at that, the more I think I got it wrong earlier on. Now I'm reading that as 2.5% chance to both apply a stack and then do damage based on the number of stacks total. So your first stack, 2.5% chance, 124 damage. Second stack, 2.5% chance, but it's got 2 stacks, 248 damage, and so on and so on, until you're up to 5 stacks, where any successive shots will have a 2.5% chance of refreshing the count at 5 stacks, and then applying 620 Withering Radiation damage. Of course, bear in mind that that's on a ground array, so numbers will be out of whack, not least because it won't be taking starship power and the like into account. May just get into space and see what effect that has. Still, could be an interesting alternative for my cruisers, since I do tend to use disruptors on those, on the grounds that it's the damage proc sets them up for the escorts. Of course, is this a disruptor? No, it's not. So you lose the standard disruptor proc, it's just disruptor damage. Maybe, but I'd still be inclined to stick with nanite or standard disruptors on a cruiser or a science vessel, just so you get the resistance debuff going and set them up for the escorts, who can happily play with these. However, that's just me. Right, so that's done, we've done the shinies, we've done the reputation abilities. All that's left is the plot. Let's see what Leeta's got to say now that she's using Paraith shampoo with 100% evil to protect her looks.
Personal log, Admiral Leeta. Our temporal visitors have given us quite a few gifts. At first, my engineers were pessimistic about understanding future technology. A few trips to the Agony booth have cured them of their misgivings. Our benefactors have come from our far future to ensure that their world comes to pass. For that to happen, we must defeat the Iconians, and our descendants have given us the weapons to do so. Of course, as Admiral in command of the fleet's flagship, I must insist on the first set of upgrades. Once the Enterprise has the power to dominate the fleet, I can give new weapons to my subordinates. but only to those who prove their loyalty.
Which rather explains why the standard ships of the Terran Empire are still throwing around phaser weapons, as opposed to the temporal dreadnoughts and, of course, the Enterprise. Although I have to note that so far in the Badlands battle zone, my experience of the Enterprise has been it warps in, she starts boasting, and she generally gets halfway through the first sentence before about 20 ships have concentrated their firepower and smacked her into the ground. And then she runs away like a little girl. However, Mirror Universe motivation, ladies and gentlemen, apparently it's producing results. Not sure what kind of results, but definitely results. They've got those temporal dreadnoughts to play with after all. Kind of smelling lockbox on those. Maybe for Season 12, we shall see. But that wraps us up for Tier 2 of the Terran Empire. Just one last note, if you're watching this on the date of recording, it's currently Tuesday the 3rd of November 2015. This Friday 6th of November at 2200 GMT, that's 1400, I think you're on Pacific Standard Time by that point, anyhow, West Coasts, I will be going into the Badlands and I'll be queuing up with Kiana of Priority 1 over at twitch.tv/Yuzril, so hopefully I'll see you then. And if not, I'll see you either for Foundry Frolics or just the next tier video, which will of course be Tier 3. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, farewell.